just like martial arts, we all start as white belts, right? Every single one of us, the greatest martial artists ever walked the earth, started on their first day and they sucked. And, we have to really embrace the suck, right? That's what it is. We know how hard martial arts are, right? If you can't embrace the suck, then you're never going anywhere from there.
Thank you for tuning into the show, whether you are watching this on martialartsmedia.com or on YouTube, or listening while on the move on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. This is the Martial Arts Media Business Podcast. My name is George Fourie, and on this show we interview top martial arts school owners, share success stories, share martial arts stories from great martial arts experts, and then we talk about lead generation and marketing strategies in between. So a quick heads up before we jump into the show. I just wanted to make sure that you are already part of our Martial Arts Media business community. It is our free Facebook group where we hang out every day. We talk about lead generation, marketing, and all things martial arts. You can jump in by either clicking a link close to this video or go to martialartsmedia.group. So not martialartsmedia.com, just martialartsmedia.group. That'll take you there. That's the best place for you to go after the show. We are in there every day, and there's a bunch of free resources that we have already uploaded into the group. Things about how to attract the right students, how to increase your sign-up base, how to retain more members, etc. So jump into the show. I will catch you in the group once the show is done. Enjoy. I'll speak to you soon. G'day, this is George Fourie, and welcome to another Martial Arts Media Business Podcast episode. So today I'm speaking with Jim Morrison, all the way from Barrie, Ontario. How are you doing, Jim?
Awesome. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Great to speak to you. This is the first time we've just been chatting before the show, and Jim's been going for about 15 years in his martial arts school, Champs Academy, and we're just going to have a conversation and add some value for you as the school owner. So let's jump in. First up, Jim, just give us a couple of minutes, who you are, what type of styles you teach, all the rest.
Awesome. We're a martial arts academy that primarily focuses on Taekwondo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We've had our studio in place here in Barrie for about 15 years. Before that, I was in the martial arts industry teaching for my instructor for many, many years. I think since I was 17, I was teaching. And then I started martial arts when I was about 8 years old. So it's a long time ago. And we've grown and grown. We started as a small school out of a community center that expanded to a small unit. And then that unit grew. And now we're in a 10,000 square foot space. We're looking to open another 2 schools in the next 2 years. So, we're programmed for growth.
Awesome. So 15 years, break that down a bit. So, you got started with the same business that you've got now 15 years ago?
Yes. So Champs Academy's been in business for 15 years. This is our 15-year anniversary. So we're actually going to have a big anniversary party this year. Mayor's coming and everything. So it should be really fun. But we started 15 years ago. It was a small school. We were just teaching out of a community center. I always had aspirations to make this a full-time career. At the time, I was working construction during the day and teaching at night. But it was always a big thing for me to be able to make the plunge and make myself a career martial artist. And then it was just I'm growth-minded person, and over the years the industry's changed a lot, but I've been able to try and stay on top of all the growth and all the changes over the years. And I think we've done a good job of staying on top of the pulse of our community, and it's helped us kind of grow.
Hang on, you're not going to let that off so quickly. You've got your 15th birthday party, but the mayor is coming. How did you do that?
So actually, the mayor is his family's training with us now too. But before that, we'd also make contacts because what we do in our community, we do a lot of outreach stuff in our community. I think that's really important because if you want to be the go-to location in your area, you need to make sure that you're present in everything you can possibly be in your community. So we do a lot of work in the schools. We offer free bully prevention courses that we go into schools and teach. We go in and do self-defense courses, stranger danger courses, things like that. We do Cub Scout groups, anything like that. We do big group areas. We also work with a lot of special needs in our community. So the word of our club gets out in so many different avenues, even outside our own marketing. We're so well known in the community by now that I approach the mayor, they know, the mayor's office knows who we are, so it's easier for us to get our foot in the door and put our name on his schedule, right? So that's something we've always tried to work at. It was a easy way to start our marketing, to start to open up to the community and give back, and it's something that gives you back in return. So it's helped us a lot.
That's fantastic. So you use that a lot, as in you probably can't use it as in the front of your marketing, that you're tagging the mayor along, can you?
Of course, you have to be respectful of the fact that he's got a family and a job, and you're not the only thing he's dealing with every day. But I think whether it's the mayor or we've contact with our local politicians in many different levels, and the big thing we try to do is be respectful of them, but we also encourage them to be part of what we do, even on small ways. Whether it's sometimes we teach an autism group, and for example, autism in Ontario right now is there's an issue with funding and things like that. So there's an opportunity there for us to be a part of that, a voice in that community, because we work with a lot of autism groups, and that means we're on the page of the news as well. So I mean, it helps both ways. Obviously, we're genuine about our giving back to our community and helping these different groups, but at the same time, I'd lie if I say it didn't help us in some way, because it does give us a voice outside of our club.
Yeah, it's such an underrated marketing strategy, just actually care and give, and if you do that, you could actually be surprised what comes your way, instead of just thinking of how do you give, and things start to shape up for you.
Yeah. I think the ethics of what we teach, we always know that it's giving back is a part of that, right? We've all been taught that since day one in martial arts, but somewhere along the way, when we start a business, we kind of want to put those ethics on a shelf, or those ideas on a shelf. And I think if we explore them a little more, I think really there's a lot of benefit for our own club from giving back to our community and doing anything we can, because it spreads the word of what we do. And if that's the message of what we do, well, people connect with that. That's a passion that people connect with. And in this day and age, when people are inundated with marketing and advertising and flyers and media and commercials on TV, they have choices that they never had before. And when they hear somebody who's genuine and passionate about what they teach, and they see that there's somebody that cares about their community, I think that speaks volumes for what the product of what we sell is. And that's helping people get that message too, right? So I think, we want to always expand in that general direction. It keeps in touch with my family's ethics, but as well as what I teach in the martial arts club.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to talk a little more on that. I work with a group of martial arts school owners called Partners, and a big of our focus with marketing is a lot of what you're saying is, how do you become the authority in your space? How do you stand out? And a lot about standing out is not by leading with the marketing, of the offer and how do you join? How do you get a member in? But rather, how do you give? How do you go that layer up? And how do you create content that provides value, that connects with people that maybe they're a good prospect for martial arts, but they don't know it yet, or they have the problems that you can solve, but they don't know it yet. Like you speak about autism, and I think most parents that have kids that have autism aren't thinking that martial arts is the solution. So there's so much in your marketing that you can do that is not about the offer, but it's about speaking to people on a higher level. So if you don't mind sharing, how do you go about speaking to groups that are potential prospects for your school, and how do you work that within the community to get them through the doors?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, because it's not an easy thing, because a lot of times it's even hard to find these specialty groups, even if you have the best of intentions. I think we all started, the first time I ever started teaching any specialty groups is I was teaching Taekwondo, and I got approached by a parent that I was teaching the one son Taekwondo and the other son was in a wheelchair. And she said something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, it's too bad there's nothing he can do like this, because it's helped my other son so much. And I said, well, if I had a group of kids like this, I'd be happy to do that. And she said, well, watch what you say, because I'm going to help you do that. And the next thing I know, I'm in a rented wheelchair teaching Taekwondo classes from a wheelchair, I don't actually have to use a wheelchair, thank God. But I'm teaching classes from a wheelchair to a group full of kids in wheelchairs. And it was such a great experience for me that I wanted to make sure that we continued to spread that message. So then when I had students that had autism or I had a student that was in a wheelchair or something like that, we would highlight them. And what I mean by that is any chance we got, not an advertisement, just to put something in the local newspaper, put on our website, put on our Facebook page, we're so proud of this student and how far they've came. They are a leader in our school, and we're so proud of them and see how far they've come in their training. And what we found was a lot of people responded to that, because just seeing that, hey, you know what, this is not something that is elitist to just, the athletic kid from school. This is not just martial arts. We have a horrible reputation. We have the worst, outside of our own clubs, the marketing is horrendous. Most people think we as people are thugs and we're, tough guys and we're, all those other things. When reality is we're almost the exact opposite of those things, right? Because the ethics of what we grew up with taught us to be so much more than that. So I think it's up to us to break that wall down and show people that everybody can do it. And that was kind of where we went with it. And now right now we have 3 or 4 different special needs groups that we teach, specialty classes only for each of them, on top of the kids that we teach in our regular program that are special needs as well. And it's become a niche for us, not intentionally, just because we're trying to reach out to the community that we serve.
That's fantastic. So do you actually then teach in a wheelchair?
Yes, I actually sit in a wheelchair, and I don't use it. And if you want to be humbled, if you ever want to feel humbled, try and teach kids that actually sit in a wheelchair all day how to do things from a wheelchair. And the muscles in your arms that you're not aware of and your shoulders will start to hurt in a way that you have not had any experience with, because they're so much stronger than we are at using their arms in different ways that we haven't had to use them in. So it's actually a very humbling experience, but it's also very something I love doing. It's something passionate for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So tell me a bit more about that. Like, how do you then adjust your whole class structure, and like what constraints does it put on you, and how do you prepare for that? How do you go about teaching a class from a wheelchair?
Well, whether it's from a wheelchair or any other special needs group, the first thing we always do is we have a system that our instructors use, and it's our own self-assessment more than it is theirs. And what we look at is that we say, okay, what is the highest functioning action we can expect from this group? And it's usually higher than they actually think they're capable of. So what do we think that is? And we have to draw a picture of what that specifically looks like for whatever group we're looking at. And then we look at the lowest functioning factor and we say, okay, we have to meet them here, but we want to get them there. So we have to start to look at the physicality. Very often the communication is a big factor, because like I say, we have a Down syndrome group as well. They're not going to pick up on the same gestures and movements that you and I would in a class. Even the specifics of how you're holding your hand, things can be different depending on the physicality and the mental capabilities of the group that you're teaching. And that's not to diminish where they're going to be going. It's just to say where the starting point is. So we always have like a little chart. We do that. And that way, any of the instructors if another instructor is going to teach that, they can look at that chart and decide where on that chart they're going to focus that day. And of course, it can vary day to day too, because as any instructor knows, teaching any group of kids, there's days they come in ready to learn, and then there's days they come in and I don't know who gave sugar to all these kids before they walked in here, but they washed it down with coffee. So on those days, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, definitely so. Okay, so now and just to clarify, so this is teaching Taekwondo classes or Jiu-Jitsu from the wheelchair, or both?
The wheelchair classes are all done for Taekwondo specifically. It just lends itself a little easier to the techniques we teach. We see that the kids get a quicker grasp of the movement, and therefore they're encouraged, right? Of course, most physical situations that a kid is facing, if they're in a wheelchair, they're very aware that they're working from a deficit of some kind. So one of the first things we have to do for all these kids, and this is the same with any kid, is build their confidence. So they need to see some progress, just like any kid would, right? So we just have to look at it from that same standpoint we would teaching any kid off the street, and just say, hey, we need to build their confidence so that they know they can do this journey. And then from there, you can lead them down the journey you want. But if they don't believe in it, they're going to give up pretty quickly, regardless of whether they're in a wheelchair or special needs, or they're fine and they just need to get started in martial arts, right? So we need to build that confidence before we step anywhere.
Gotcha.
That's why we found some of the Taekwondo techniques lend themselves a little easier to that.
Gotcha. And that was actually my next question, and I think you probably answered it with how does the mindset differ? The mindset of someone that has the special needs versus a normal child, and do you have to change the process of how you get them to install that confidence in themselves?
Very often, yes, because like I say, they face more challenges. And things that we don't even think about. When you pull up to a building, you and I don't have to figure out what part of the curb we have to get in a building. That's something that simple. And those kind of things weigh on a person. Just think about all the things that weigh on us when we hit traffic and it's slower, things like that. Well, they're facing that, plus when they get to the plaza they're going to, they can't get in the door because they don't have a dip in the curb big enough for the wheelchair. So you have to take into consideration what you're facing. So I think a lot of times for us, that's the biggest piece. For kids that are facing any more challenges than the average kid, whatever it is, it's just, like I say, start with that confidence piece and build from there, because the more success they can feel, there's nothing like seeing a kid break a board, right? But if you see a kid break a board who didn't think he could possibly break a board, there's something that changes inside you as a person when you see that, right? You get to be a part of something special, right? And that's something I think that they experience, but also you as an instructor experience. So there is a mindset we have to get past, an I can't attitude that we have to get past, because they really can't do a lot of the things that everybody else takes for granted. So we got to get past that and give them some confidence and give them some successes.
Yeah, think of that next time you're stuck in traffic.
Right?
How tough life is.
Yeah, we think about that with all our students. We try to, one of the things, getting back to the point where you're saying, is teaching from a passionate place. I think, we try and talk to our instructors and our staff, and we say, look, you can't fake this thing we do. We don't have the kind of job you can call in, whether we're teaching anybody, an adult, a kid. We don't know what these people face in their daily life, and we could be the best thing that happened to them today. So we can't bring a half an effort. We have to bring the best effort. And I think if we do that, it translates. And like I say, in this day and age, people have choices they never had before, right? I started in the 80s, and my parents put me in the martial arts club that was closest to my house. That was it. That was their precursor for hiring a martial arts instructor for me. And it worked out great. I was very happy with it, but it could have easily worked out horribly, because now that I know the industry a little bit better, I know there's good and bad in everything, and our industry is no different, right?
That's it. So Jim, what's been the biggest shift for you over the last 15 years from where you started up to now?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to go to the idea of marketing. I think marketing, when we first started, first of all, like I say, people didn't have as many choices. There was one or two martial arts clubs in town, and even if the martial arts were something that the parent couldn't pronounce, if it was the closest thing to what they thought it was going to be, they just signed the kids up. Nowadays with the internet, it's a great thing, but it's a curse. And it's a great thing because people have more choice, they have more variety, they can test drive things before they do it, they can go and look at inside your facility before they get there. But it's a hard thing, because if you don't quite know how to communicate that to people, I think that you're missing out on clientele that they should be in your facility. They should be training with you. And I think that's probably the biggest change in marketing, is getting a hand on what happens on the internet, whether it's your website or social media or, specifically Google Analytics and all the details, getting content out there so people can taste test what you're doing, and they have awareness of what you do. And the more we can do those things I think are the big change over the last 15 years. It used to be me and my students with flyers going door to door. Nowadays, if I get a flyer, I do what everybody else does, and I put it right in the recycling bin, and that's about the end of that. But we get so many clicks per video we put out, and we get so much interest off Facebook and our website. It's Instagram. That's the wave of the future. If you really have to get professionals on your side as far as what kind of web presence you're having, and that'll make a huge difference.
Definitely so. So do you have I guess when I hear the things that you have going on, you've got this big pool of ideas just sitting there to create content from. Do you have a specific strategy that you follow to create content for your school?
Yes. Well, first of all, we look at the biggest thing is we communicate what we do. So again, it's about being honest, to stick to the virtues that we teach every day, right? If we want to be honest about what we do and what we don't do. I don't create MMA fighters. There's great clubs for that, and I think it's fantastic. I fought MMA for a few years, but I don't want my kids to do it, so I don't teach it in my school, because my kids are a very big part of my school now. So I want to communicate what exactly we teach. So what we teach, I want to show people the quality of what I teach. I want to give them the type of a taste of what the class looks like or feels like. I want them to see whatever my strengths are. I want to make sure I magnify those, and I want to make sure that I'm reaching the people that are looking for me. So again, that's about knowing I don't know if you guys use the same term, but we call it an avatar, which is your ideal customer. So we always keep the ideal customer in mind, and try and keep our content specific to reaching them as well. So, it's two-sided. It's making sure we're honest about what we're putting out there, but we're also making sure that we're targeting our avatar, so we're not wasting energy and money, pretending we're something we're not.
Gotcha. Now, I know for a lot of school owners, it's a bit of people get stuck when they want to create video. And I think even though martial arts school owners and instructors are super confident and know how to run and teach a class, there's something there's this barrier that gets stuck when it comes to creating video and getting confident with that process. What was it like for you getting started with video, and how did you venture through any obstacles to get it in motion?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, because I really sucked at it at first. So that's a great question. When we first started doing content and things like that, I really didn't know what to videotape, and I would just take my phone and videotape part of a class and post it and do kind of things like that. And it got mixed reviews. Sometimes I get people say, oh, that's a great thing. Or, sometimes I'd videotape a class and didn't realize that it looked a little hectic, because I was taking a video of the part where they're having some free time, and to somebody else, they're like, wow, that doesn't look formatted or structured at all. And now they get a bad taste of what we do. So I didn't really know what to do. So I have to give credit where credit's due. My son, I have a big family. I'm the proud dad of 7 little kids. So awesome. I have 7. Yeah. And my oldest son is 19, and he's now running our head office. And he's, of course, a little more in touch with technology than I am at 44. So he started getting really involved in what we videotape, and he's really good at researching what works out there. He started following some industry leaders, which I always recommend. Look for people that whether you teach jiu-jitsu or you teach Taekwondo or whatever you teach. Look for people anywhere in the world that are who's got his most views and who's popular for other people to watch. Go and watch your heroes, the people that you see win tournaments and things like that. Why are they getting views? And sometimes we as martial artists want to give it the quick answer. Well, that's easy for that guy. He's Chuck Norris's student or something silly like that. Or that's easy for that guy. He's, a world famous jiu-jitsu fighter. It's, Kit Dale or somebody like that. But it's not just the big name, right? It's making sure what people are really watching, Kit Dale's site for is going to be those great jiu-jitsu tutorials or those little pieces where they get a taste of something they want to learn. So if you can mimic what the greats do, you don't have to know how to do the great content. You're just going to find your own niche inside that. And then I think really it's, like I said, to go back to, is being honest about what you offer. If you're not a jiu-jitsu program, don't model yourself after one. Model yourself after what you really are targeting. And then you can specify to your avatar a lot easier.
Gotcha. And I'd probably add to that, because that also, what I see is creates an obstacle, because sometimes you look at your peers and you look at the guys that, you aspire to, but they're already at such a high level. And now you're entering this video realm, and your expectations are to be exactly like they already are. And I think that puts a bit of a big roadblock in it, because you want to get started and just be perfect at it, but you gotta you got to run the reps, right?
Just like martial arts, we all start as white belts, right? Every single one of us, the greatest martial artists ever walked the earth, started on their first day and they sucked. And we have to really embrace the suck, right? That's what it is. We know how hard martial arts are, right? If you can't embrace the suck, then you're never going anywhere from there. Like if you could ever take a video of what it looked like your first day of martial arts, how proud would you be looking at that based on your current knowledge of martial arts? Well, you'd be almost embarrassed instantly, right? Well, it's the same thing with your first video. It's going to suck. But that's where you start. That's your start point. And if you're not willing to take those steps and make those efforts and try something new, try this, because if you haven't done social media marketing and you haven't done it well, then you're not going to be able to go anywhere. But in that same breath, there is market leaders that can direct people. There are professionals out there that, are really great, making sure you have a good website. Go to people that are specific to our market in martial arts, and they design great websites that already attract great Google traffic. There's people that already know how to use Facebook, and they can give you guys, anybody, tips out there on how to find those little niches that they can target. There's a lot of different resources out there, but just like martial arts, if you're not willing to go out and try these things, if you're not willing to go out and learn from somebody that's maybe a little further ahead than you, then you're going to stay a white belt, right? Just like you would in a martial art.
Yeah, that's it. So true. I love that. I love that saying, and I heard it the first time in High Performance Habits from Brendan Burchard. Embrace the suck.
Yeah. I read the same book, so I know that's another thing I think is very important too. Is martial artists, we're designed for growth, right? We have to realize, like, as martial artists, you and I, we should be constantly reading and listening to podcasts, and if you're not growing, you're dying. Right, we have to really start to look for more things out there that can inspire and encourage us to grow and become better at what we do, because that's what we're doing here. That's what we're selling. So it's a lie if you're not doing it yourself, right? It's you don't want to stand up there and tell everybody, oh, growth is important, improve yourself, do these things, and then you're going home to watch the same TV program and fall asleep in bed doing the same thing you did for the last 5 days. I try and do something each day just to grow. I don't think it's too hard. I think you can find some podcast or watch some videos online or whatever you need to do to feel like you're making steps forward. And that kind of thing too can give you a little bit of confidence to take another step too, because you can find people that are doing those things out there that you want to follow.
I love that. And I'll just add one thing I'm noticing about you is you just being true to yourself. I mean, that's and it's a big component of the things that we teach in our partners program is always, when we always talk about how do you create content, well, just do actually what you do. If you have yourself in check and you are growing and you are, being true to yourself and you've got integrity and you've got all these attributes that martial arts talks about, and you are living that, then just live it. Just live it, yeah. Be it, and let that become your marketing. Let that become the way you spread your message.
Yeah, and then it just comes down to communication. And then it's just finding the avenues for communicating what you do. And then being honest with that and putting it out there, right? Like I just spent the entire afternoon with my son. We were videoing different content for social media. We should have enough now for the next 6 months off of today. It was a tiring day.
Awesome.
But yeah, great stuff. And, but the thing was, I make a point, like, because we don't teach high-end MMA, for example, that I'm using that as an example. But if you do, I mean, great. That's what you should focus on, and you should make sure you're communicating that. So there's no judgment on it. I just say that that's not what I sell. So because I don't sell that, I try to make sure each thing I put out there is directly representative of what you would see when you walked into my club. So that means that when you walk into my club, you're already qualified yourself as a customer. So by the time I'm reaching these, fingers out into the community to bring in people into our club, people that walk through my door, people that call me, people that email me, people that, send us Facebook messages, which happens all the time, daily. All that stuff is already qualified as genuine leads because they know what we do. I've already given them a sample of what I do. So, and it's easy to find. If you search me up, you'll find me everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, all over YouTube, everything. And that's purposeful because I'm not bragging. It's not something that I'm better than the next person. It's a window. It's not about how good I am. It's a window into my club. So when you see that window, you can look in, and if it's not for you, you can decide that too. But if it is, you've already qualified yourself as somebody that would be interested in what we do. So we're not selling cars here. We're selling martial arts. If somebody walks through the door, if they make the effort to do that part, and we've done the advertising right, you should have 80 to 90% sign up rate minimum. I mean, that's a given, because if you've done a great job of your marketing, they're coming in for what you're selling. So they're already almost buying. They got their wallet in their hand. They want to buy your product. So it should be an easy conversion at that point.
Just don't stand in their way.
Yeah. And make sure you know when to shut up, and you know when to talk, and you know when to answer questions, and you know when to listen, right?
That's it. Love it. Hey, so Jim, it's been great speaking to you, and it sounds like we could speak another couple of hours, but we might do that in another one. What I do want to ask you though is, what would you do different? Going back over the years, what you've done. What's one thing that you would tweak or look at different in a way moving forward if you had to start all over?
I think what was really intimidating for me was a lot of the stepping my marketing to different angles, doing things that I hadn't done before. Because just like you're saying, I was intimidated at it first. And when I first stepped into it, I knew I sucked. I could watch other people do a much better job, and I didn't really understand that. I think I would just be a little more gutsy with going for that stuff, especially with social media stuff. It's almost free. It's so cheap compared to any other marketing. So I think what I would do, and if I could go back, is spend more focus on those kind of things, and just do that, get that message out there more. I think I was a little bit too silent for too long with that, and now that we've got that ball rolling, we see the results of it, and it's great.
Love it. Yeah, it's just something you got to nurture and be patient with, and I guess just stay clear of all the distractions. I mean, there's marketers pulling you in so many directions and so many ideas, but it always comes down to the, I always, and I can't recall who mentioned this to me, but one of my coaches have mentioned to me, always look at what people do versus what they say. Yes. Which, people might be telling you to do this, but they're doing something completely different. Yes. And I think it's just important to just, focus, do the hard work. The hard work is creating the content, fine-tuning your message, and looking after yourself. And if you can get that through and be patient with it, you're going to build a following, and it's going to start. That's where you get the whole snowball running down the mountain, and it just catches momentum, and you got leads coming in from everywhere, and you after a while you can't track where. It's just happening.
Yes, and I think that's the trick. You just get started, just go for it. Just start putting your word out there, and like I say, be genuine with what you're putting out there. Watch people that you trust, and watch what they're doing, and again, like you say, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Go follow them. Go follow them on Instagram. Go follow them on Facebook. And you know what? The thing is this day and age, you can find all that information so easily. So you just have to be willing to take that next step and go for it and follow the right people, and even make mistakes along the way. Be a white belt. Embrace the suck. Do your thing and just go with it, right?
Love it. Jim, been awesome speaking to you. If anybody wants to know more about you and what you do, where can they go to find out?
Anybody can contact me anytime. I love helping people in my community. I love helping people in the martial arts community. So my email is direct from our website. So www.champsacademy.ca or info@champsacademy.ca is our email. You can email me through there. I'm on Facebook as well. You can look I'm Jim Morrison. I know everybody's going to remember that. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm everywhere. So look for me there. And I can even put you in contact with my son who handles a lot of this stuff as well. And he'd be happy to help. That's part of our mission.
Awesome. Fantastic, Jim. Look forward to speaking to you again in the future.
Yeah, anytime.
Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks again for tuning in. Was it helpful? Did you get something of good value for your martial arts business? Then please do me a favor and let us know. Leave us a comment wherever you watched or listened to this, or just head over to iTunes and just leave us an awesome review. That way we'll know that we are on the right track, and we'll keep bringing you great shows with great interviews, sharing great strategies and tips. So if you haven't yet, now's a good time to head over to our group, martialartsmedia.group. That's the Martial Arts Media Business Community. I'll see you in the group, and I will see you on the next show.